Welcome to Bad Idea Metals. This is Anthony, and I'm halfway through a video that I didn't realize I was going to make. I was planning to just do this on my own, but last video I showed that I was processing some fingers, and one of my longest subscribers to the channel has requested to see this come to completion. So I guess I'm going to document the rest of this RAM fingers and video card fingers. You can see here, I'll just explain what you've missed already, catch you up. So in the last video, I showed the copper chloride being created, and those fingers, they've been sitting in hydrochloric for a little over a week. And then here, you can see I'm filtering out the copper chloride. I don't want to throw that away. I can recover the copper, but there are fingers from the gold, from the RAM and from the video cards, and you can see that right there floating on top. And when that's all done, it's going to catch up with all the stuff that I've got in the water. I want to get all of these gold fingers to a stage where they're rinsed enough, and I can do an Aqua regia and not have a ton of copper and other base metals in there. If I tip this bucket up a little bit and get some of those fingers agitated, you can see that there's quite a bit in solution already. They're just floating around, but and of course there is a ton hiding underneath all of this mass. So I don't have an actual weight. Like I said, I wasn't planning on doing a video, but yeah, it's pretty exciting. This is actually a pretty significant batch, and I really wish that I'd recorded the initial weight. Hey, before I get too far into this, take a look at these. This is the video that I guess I'm going to announce the contest. So these I'd like to give away. I got these out of some 1985 to 1990 computers. I picked these up from a junk collector back in 2021, and I was processing them, realizing that I had some pretty cool things. So I'd like to give these away. I only have a few, but I'll give all of them away. So there's going to be multiple winners here. And I'm going to announce the winners on my anniversary video, which will be around the 11th of April of this year. I'm so excited that we've been doing this for 2 years. It's been a crazy 2 years. There's a lot of things that have changed, a lot of things that I've changed directions on. So I appreciate all of my subscribers. Post a comment to any of my videos between now and the end of March. And then in April, I will select as many winners as I can based on how many chips that I find. This is just a handful of them, and I still have about 20 or 30 more computers to go through from that batch. So I may find more. I don't know how many winners I'm going to have quite yet. That's my way of saying thank you to all my subscribers. Okay, let's get back to the video. Okay, so I will finish rinsing these off, and I will bring you in on the next step. All right, so you can see we've got some foils already over. Let's get our gloves back on. We're gonna transfer over. Okay, we're gonna transfer over this funnel. This is the one that's gonna have the majority of the material, as well as all of those extra circuit board fibers, which we're not gonna want, but they're coming with it anyway. You know what? Let's just pick this up. We're gonna just dump it right in. Oh, these tweezers are not thin enough to get it. Let's not drop that out on the ground. There. Pretty nice. And that's empty. So we'll set that back in our barrel. And here's all the material that we've collected for the duration of this video on all those fingers. So, but we're done with the filtering, and we got a lot of fingers in here. So that's good stuff. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's a little bit of water in there. I used that water to rinse out the beaker that these were in. So this is going to be a little bit of a dilute Aqua regia. which really shouldn't matter a ton. Okay, so let's get our hydrochloric in, and it's about 3 to 1. 3 parts hydrochloric to 1 part nitric. Let's go a little bit below the level of those filters right there. We're going to go slow and steady on the nitric. It's by far my most expensive component to doing the refinement. It cost me over $100 a gallon. So we're going to do 3 pipettes. Each one of these is about 3 milliliter. I think at most it's 5, but I don't fill them all the way up. So that's a really light usage right there. We'll turn up some heat. It really doesn't need much heat, but it speeds things up. And I'm not out here waiting forever. I've got a top for it. Put a little top on it. And we're gonna set off to the side here our little gold dust from the last video I did, where those discs, those circuit board discs, they produced a very low yield of powder of gold precipitate, and we're gonna add it in at the very last. So I don't want to forget to do that. That way it gets collected, but it's such a trace amount that it's not going to change the total of this yield very much. So I like the angle of the sun today. It's going to help us see some fun stuff in here. Let me get you in a little closer. Well, the reaction slowed down and I still see foils, so let's add a little bit more nitric. Doing it slow and steady like this helps 2 things. 1, you're not going to over nitrate your reaction, which makes denoxing at the end easier. 2, it'll save you a little bit of money, my opinion. Even though it's going to take longer to go through the whole process. All right, so this has been going for about 30 minutes. We're going to let it cool down a little bit. After we let it cool down, we're going to filter it. So let's get our funnel ready. Okay, so our filter's prepped. It's squeaking at me. I put a little bit of pressure on it to make sure that filter paper was down. And this is really hot, so I'd be very careful with this. Rinse it really well. The liquid is where our gold is. So we want to make sure we get all of our gold out of the filter paper here and into this flask. Now there is a slight tint of green to it, so we're going to definitely process this one more time, but that is really close compared to some of the really dirty gold drops that I've done in the recent past. So We'll need that again later, so let's set that off to the side. And let's focus our attention on our Aqua regia. The next step in the refinement is we need to get the gold out of solution now. Here I've got some sodium metabisulfide. And we're going to pour a little bit in. Beautiful. That chocolate brown is what we're looking for. That is gold coming out of solution. Now, if we had added too much nitric acid, then the Aqua regia would be strong enough to pull it right back into solution. By going slow with the pipettes, one of the motivations to using such a little amount of nitric acid back in the Aqua regia step is now the SMB not only will drop the gold out, but it will denox it, because we don't have such a concentration of nitric anymore. Let's add just a little bit more SMB. And we're going to let this sit for a few hours as it does its thing, and it pulls the gold out of solution and settles it on the bottom for us. Before we walk away from this, let's give this a good stir. Okay, we'll come back when that is all settled out. This is our solution from that step. You can see that the brown powder on the bottom is our gold. The liquid's a little bit green. That means that this isn't going to be pure gold this step. So this is usually pretty transparent. So let's go ahead and filter this. I like to do this with a cotton ball. Stick a cotton ball down in your funnel. Make it nice and tight so the gold doesn't slip past. And away we pour. And technically you don't have to filter this upper liquid. The gold's going to all settle. Sometimes I find that the gold holds onto the walls, and I would just rather catch it all than pour it out. So this is going to take a few minutes, so I'll just skip to the end, all right? All right, so that's our gold. It's not 3/9 fine, I don't think. It's going to be close, but not quite. There were still some impurities, and I still have a second refinement I want to do, but I've got something that's going to take priority over me refining this down. So I'm going to melt this into a button, and we'll add it to the rest of our collection to be refined in the future. But yeah, there's our mud. There's our gold powder. We'll go ahead and combine these in my little crucible here. All right, so now that we got all the gold powder in that cup, let's go melt it. a nice gold ball in the bottom there. Let that cool. You gotta let that cool for a minute. Oh, that is a nice ball. I'm not sure if you guys were in focus on that or whatnot, but that's a pretty good sized gold button. It's still too hot. Let's let that cool. We'll put that in some sulfuric to get the borax off, and we'll weigh it up. Peek inside the forge. All right, I've got a bottle of about 50-50 sulfuric and water. Put in a little bit. There's our button. We'll drop it in and let that simmer for just a second in the sulfuric. That'll help break down the borax that's on the button. It's been in, I don't know exactly how long, maybe 10 minutes. Let's give this a wait. Rinse it off in some nice clean water. Take a look at that. Nice, right? Let's dry it off. No more water's coming off. Let's tear that. Okay, moment of truth, here we go. About 5.2. Now it is a little bit breezy out here, and my scale does respond to the wind. And I don't know how to stop that other than to go inside, so. Okay, well, we're gonna try this again, indoors this time. 5.24, without the breeze influencing our scale. That's pretty crazy that the scale responds that much to this, but there it is. That's pretty nice. All right, well, that's a pretty nice piece. There's a tiny bit of borax still on it. Not a lot, but yeah, it's pretty nice. Nice little button. The lighting in here isn't great, but yeah, it's pretty yellow. It could probably go through another refinement, and that would get it even more pure. But at this point, it's pretty close. It's at least 2 nines. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. I've got a few more video ideas coming up. I have a request to do some board trims from an industrial board processing facility. And I've been given 2 different batches, and I'm going to go through them 2 different ways. So that'll be my next video. In fact, I think it'll be 2 videos, but I look forward to doing a few other fun stuff here. Our anniversary for the channel is April 11th, and that'll be 2 years. So don't forget to subscribe and leave me comments to be eligible for those chips that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and have a good night.